Well, we've been delving into the distant past and trying to bring out some of the memories that we had as children, or our parents have told us, or our grandparents have let us know about. We want to find out how things were then as compared to now. Can we think about I guess one of the earliest means of communication was letters. People always wrote. And the letters were delivered by hand, person to person. We had the Pony Express in the United States, where you had to make 15 miles in 1 hour or you were fired, before the postal came into being. Do you have any memories about letter writing in the past? How has it changed from today? Jim?
Well, I remember we got mail twice a day. There were always deliveries twice a day to the home. Postcards were 1 cent postage. First class mail was 3 cents. And I remember when I was in the Army back in the 40s, or 50s, I mean, well, 40s, I mean, actually, old age. Anyway, we would write a letter every day, and we had mail call, and we expected letters every day, and that was a big thing to look forward to. But I remember, well, my mother saved all the letters, and I think there was a daily letter went out, and in the Army you got to mail them free, so that was a good deal.
But Mother had to pay for airmail or something
Oh
like
yes,
that.
oh yes, that's right.
You had to pay to have it specially sent. Right, can you remember anything else?
Letters were the main way of communicating. As we said before, you don't use the telephone very often except for urgent things. But it's a wonderful way of having a way to look at what somebody had said and read it over and over again. I think that people today are missing some of that, but letters were the way to communicate.
Right. And Bonnie, how about you?
That's very true. Sometimes you'd get multiple page letters detailing what happened to somebody, or something exciting happening, and it was really thrilling. Me personally, I decided to get a pen pal. In those days, that was very popular. And we got to choose somebody from a different country. So I chose somebody from Nigeria, which was very exciting. She lived in a village, a totally different life than mine. And she wanted me to send her like a blouse and some things and some money, so she could exchange with me. And she sent me a snake purse and some other things that were very unusual.
I can imagine.
But it was an education. You learned about other people.
Right, and it certainly has changed from today now. I mean, we don't get mail twice a day.
No,
and we're thinking of 5 days a week.
And we don't get much first class mail.
No, you don't get handwritten letters very often.
That is so true, and even thank you notes used to be a must. Christmas or any gift that we had was always, you had to have a thank you note. Now that's a lost cause. Can you remember anything about printing? Has printing changed in any way?
Well, as a youth, I had a little printing press at home. I wanted to go in the newspaper business. But you set the type by hand. It was one letter at a time, and you put it into a little holder and wrote down, and then you put it into a clamp and put it on your press and printed it. And then linotype came in, where it was a keyboard, and the letters fell into the same type of object. And then, of course, the computer came in, and that changed everything.
You better believe it.
But handset type was very strenuous and long.
Right, and you were constantly exposed to lead because
they were all lead.
Yes, because they had to be reformed at times and that. We lived through it. How about you, Lo? Can you remember any?
Well, I didn't have much experience with the printing as such. The only thing I remember about trying to make copies was when you were in school and you had the jelly that you put the
Yes.
purple stuff on, and then it was mimeograph, I believe.
No, it was like a ditto, and
yes.
you had to rub.
It was a real experience when the teacher would let you help. That was a real special occasion. But I didn't have much experience with printing as such.
But that really, I remember that. In fact,
You got all over.
Oh yes,
You did. In fact, when I started teaching, that was the way. We didn't have mimeographs.
It was the only way that you could make out tests and that sort of
Correct,
thing was
yeah.
handwritten with this purple pen.
Oh yes, it was really wonderful. Bonnie, how about you?
My uncle owned a print shop down on Illinois Street in Chicago, and we'd go to his shop, and he would show us how he set type. At that time, it was the Linotype with the what they called pigs. They would have the lead in these great big blocks, and it would hang over a fire, and it would melt in there. And then when you type, all the type would come down and go in the row. Of course, you had to read backwards because the letters were backwards. So, you'd have to proof it backwards and make sure that it was correct.
Wow. That seemed to be a challenge in itself.
Absolutely.
Well, I remember the mimeograph preceded many of the Xerox and everything, and when I was in grammar school, we used to hear this machine go click, 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 and we were told it was the spanking machine. Ooh. And we didn't know any better, so somebody was getting spanked if we heard click, 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 click. Well, with printing along came magazines and newspapers. That today, that's almost fading out. Do you have any memories of the early newspapers, Bonnie?
I remember my father loved the newspapers. He'd come home from work, and he'd come home early because he was a milkman. Mm-hmm. And he'd sit down at the table, and he'd open his newspaper and leisurely read through it, maybe for an hour or so. Mm-hmm. And it was such an entertaining and quieting type of experience. I know he really enjoyed it.
I enjoy it in the morning with my cup of coffee.
See?
How about you, Jim?
Well, I remember I delivered newspapers as a youth, Detroit Free Press, and we had 90 people on our route. We would take our bikes and ride, except on rainy days, our parents would drive us around.
Oh, how nice.
We had to put the paper inside the storm door, mm-hmm. and for that we got a penny a paper. So at the end of the week, we would collect that was for the week. We would get about $9 to $10 a week for that. We'd have to get up about 4:30 in the morning, deliver the papers, and then get back in time to go to school.
Ooh, did you have to put the papers together also?
Oh yes, we would ride down to a corner where they would be dropped off. And then also I sold Collier magazines and Saturday Evening Post. Those were a way to make money as a youth. So.
Ambition. And I'm sure you delivered newspapers too, Lo, didn't you?
No, I don't think I delivered newspapers, but I think that one of the things interesting about newspapers at that time, there were morning editions and there were evening editions in some of the cities. Mm-hmm. And there were also, you could tell how politically aligned people were because of the political alignment of the different editions, which made it kind of interesting. Did you get the Tribune or the Register?
Right. And also, if a special event came, the little boys used to stand on the corner and say, extra,
right.
extra.
Yes, yes.
Well, times certainly have changed, and Victor Hugo said, one can resist the invasion of armies, but one cannot resist the invasion of ideas. And I think that this is what is happening with communication today. We'll be back after a short break.